Dr. Mehmet Oz, otherwise simply known as Dr. Oz, is many things.
I'm now joined by Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is a heart surgeon and Emmy award-winning TV host.
This heart surgeon turned TV host turned politician.
Joining me now is Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz.
The skilled surgeon and brilliant mind rose to fame on the back of his knowledge and expertise, becoming a trusted source of information and guidance for millions of people around the world. As host of his own television program, The Dr. Oz Show, he captivated audiences with his charismatic presence and unwavering dedication to improving the lives of others. His message was one of hope and positivity, and his influence knew no bounds. But behind the scenes, a different story was emerging. Some began to question Dr. Oz's true motivations, accusing him of using his platform to promote unproven or controversial treatments and products in the pursuit of personal gain. The tale of Dr. Oz is one of the pursuit of fame, power, and money, and how one man lost his integrity in the search of it. So, why don't you kick back and relax while we investigate what Dr. Oz really does not want you to know. On November 30th, 2021, Oz announced his candidacy for the Republican nomination for the United States Senate seat in Pennsylvania.
Tonight, we are less than 40 days until the midterm elections, and it is possible the keystone state of Pennsylvania could ultimately be the key factor in determining just which party controls the Senate come next January, in what's become one of the tightest and most consequential political races in the country.
I'm running for Senate. I'm Dr. Oz, and I approve this message.
Running on a platform that took a stance against vaccines and aimed to capture the moderate conservative base of voters.
I'd like to ask Dr. Oz to step forward.
And Oz was ready to take what he saw as a next step in his career. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen, right? Dr. Oz's largest rival in the race for the Senate seat was John Fetterman, who essentially represented the progressive counterpart to Oz's conservative stances. But this wasn't the only aspect in which they differed. Fetterman's often amateurish and casual public appearance opposed Oz's highly professional persona, who clearly had more experience in the public field. And in combination with Mehmet's charm and signature smile that had already given Oz an audience of millions, it seemed unlikely that Fetterman could come out on top. Over the course of his candidacy, more and more heavy allegations against Oz start gaining traction. Perpetrated by John Fetterman's campaign, videos accuse Mehmet of abusing his power as a medical professional in the pursuit of money and fame.
Accusations that Republican Senate candidate Mehmet Oz abused animals, including puppies, during medical research.
The puppies were handled in an extremely cruel way. They were left to die in garbage bags.
I realized pretty early on that medicine was run by money.
As physicians, we take a pledge to do no harm. It is clear Dr. Oz has violated his pledge.
He's the TV doctor who knows how to sell America on what he prescribes.
Dr. Oz is a fraud. He has and will continue to put enriching himself above all else.
Oz obviously denies these allegations and attempts to distract from the topic, but how did we even get here? Coming from a family of first-generation Turkish immigrants and a father who had gone from rags to riches during times where doing so as a foreigner was quite the impressive feat, proved as an effective motivator during the doc's childhood, and it was clear from the beginning that he was a natural when it came to his skills in the medical field.
Surgery was perfect for me. It required rapid decisions, a certain amount of controlled arrogance, which I think is true of a lot of surgery, but especially cardiac surgery, where you have to think, this might not be right, but it's the right thing to do.
His success saw no end, and as one of America's top heart surgeons, saying that he was in demand would be an understatement. But Oz knew that he longed for something else. In 1996, during the World Series, Oz assisted another heart surgeon in transplanting the heart of NBA player Frank Torr. The operation was highly publicized, and in spite of Oz's rather minor role, the small dose of public attention he received was more than enough to alter his goals permanently.
It was his first big splash of popularity, and he loved it.
Already being somewhat of a celebrity in his own line of work, the road ahead of him was bumpy, but nothing he couldn't handle. And this dream would manifest itself about a decade later, when a certain talk show host would get her eyes on him.
Oprah Winfrey, her name iconic.
Queen of all media.
Her show a phenomenon.
The most powerful and influential woman in the world.
Oprah Winfrey needs almost no introduction to most of you. Notorious for having a tight grip on middle America's wine moms, her infamous talk show had turned into one of the most popular and wealthy women in America during the 80s, and she had a reputation of creating entire careers and media empires at the push of a button. As a highly skilled cardiologist, Oz's perspective captivated viewers, and he would not long after receive his own show. His undeniable skill in combination with his irresistible charm had made an incredibly lucrative combination, but this stroke of good fortune would not last forever. During the May of 2022, tragedy struck. John Fetterman was hospitalized after suffering from an ischemic stroke. This wasn't the first health emergency the 6'9", 240-pound giant had experienced, but it still set off alarm bells for him and his close ones. Luckily, he quickly recovered from the incident and didn't suffer any permanent damage caused by the stroke.
What both camps were looking forward to most, however, was a debate between the two candidates that was scheduled to be held very soon.
A key question now is, when will we see these two candidates debate?
And due to Mehmet's position as a doctor, a fact he makes sure you don't forget.
I've been trying to talk about policy issues with the people of Pennsylvania. As a doctor, I'm a surgeon. As a doctor.
The debate was a train wreck and only served to further shine the spotlight onto the two competitors.
Should abortion be banned in America? 60 seconds.
I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves.
A mere 6 days later, Oz's campaign tweeted this.
If John Fetterman had ever eaten a vegetable in his life, then maybe he wouldn't have had a major stroke. Fetterman responding, I know politics can be nasty, but even then, I could never imagine ridiculing someone for their health challenges.
Mocking somebody's health challenges. Oh, he had a stroke.
I said it was up to the citizens of Pennsylvania, and of course it still is. But I will tell y'all this, if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would have already cast my vote for John Fetterman for many reasons.
You know, he keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. You know, 3 years ago, he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, I love this guy. You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania?
But that begs the question, why was Oz running in Pennsylvania to begin with? Well, this is where it gets interesting. Because Oz's wife is one of the heirs of the DuPont chemical fortune, a $40 billion heavy American conglomerate that specializes in fracking and is seated in, you guessed it, Pennsylvania. The company also happens to be one of Oz's campaign's main monetary benefactors. The DuPont family also has a history of lobbying Congress on issues ranging from climate change to the Keystone Pipeline, and a win for Oz in Pennsylvania would grant the company an immense amount of power, so it isn't really all that surprising that Oz just so happened to become an outspoken advocate for increased hydraulic fracking.
But Oz's opinions being up for sale isn't a new thing, because advertisers have long realized how Dr. Oz's close connection to his audience can be exploited. In fact, what is dubbed as the Dr. Oz effect has been so lucrative to product salesmen that the words, as seen on Dr. Oz, can be seen proudly displayed by thousands of companies. However, Oz doesn't disclose how closely he really works with these firms, essentially abusing his self-declared position as America's doctor. You might argue that if there weren't any dangers associated with Mehmet's side hustle, then, even if his actions are morally dubious at best, no real harm is done. But unfortunately, this is not the case.
I've got the #1 miracle in a bottle. It's raspberry ketone. You want to look younger, live longer, and be stronger? See buckthorn bean coffee bean extract. It is the new miracle berry.
Dr. Oz has promoted several products on his show that have been criticized for lacking scientific evidence and potentially posing health risks to consumers. Next to alternative practices like homeopathy and energy healing, forms of medicine that don't necessarily have the strongest scientific foundation but are harmless at worst, not all of his sponsors are created equal. Some of the most dangerous products he has promoted include a variety of miracle weight loss supplements, including green coffee bean extract and Garcinia cambogia, which lacked scientific evidence to support their effectiveness and safety. Furthermore, a recent study revealed that when these were tested on mice, they didn't even help accelerate weight loss, but instead gave them the early symptoms of diabetes. Which begs the million-dollar question, was this out of sheer negligence, or was Oz fully aware of what was going on? Well, luckily there needs to be no speculation about this because the US Senate asked the TV star this exact question in 2014, when Oz was forced to testify about his promotion of shady medications.
A Senate committee is investigating alleged weight loss scams.
After Dr. Oz touted a substance called green coffee bean extract, one company in Florida sold 500,000 bottles, only to be sued by the Federal Trade Commission for false advertising.
When a science-based doctor says that something's a miracle when there's no science to back it up.
And while he was being questioned, Dr. Oz admitted that some of the products he had promoted in the past did not have sufficient scientific evidence to back up their claims.
Probably 80% of the products, which are made by 20% of the companies, are high quality, reputable products by people who really do their homework. And then 20% of the products are made by a lot of the companies who really aren't that good. The quality issues are a major concern.
The passion in connection with the word miracle, pill, and weight loss is a recipe for disaster in this environment in terms of the people who are looking for an easy fix and getting sometimes, I think, delusional about whether or not an easy fix is going to be there for them.
He also admitted that he used flowery language to describe products.
Do you believe there's a magic weight loss cure out there?
The word, if you're selling something because it's magical, no. If you're arguing that it's going to be like magic because if you stop eating carbohydrates, you're going to lose a lot of weight, that's a truthful statement. You may not agree with the flowery use of the word magic.
Let me ask, let's be real clear. Do you believe that there's a miracle pill out there?
There's not a pill that's going to help you long-term lose weight and live the best life without diet and exercise.
November 8th, 2022. It is election day, and while the votes were being counted, Oz was already doing victory laps. The state was awaiting the results for one of Pennsylvania's most important elections. Hour by hour went by, and Oz's celebrations only got louder. He knew he had it in the bag. There was no way he could lose.
So, we're not going to have a result tonight. When all the votes are tallied, I am confident we will win.
The results were in.
All right, stand by. CBS News has a new projection that the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, is going to be the next senator from the state of Pennsylvania.